Hey, Billy Donahue here. It's time for another historic pub crawl. This time we're heading to Jenkintown, Pennsylvania, one town over from where I grew up in Glenside. So let's hit it. There's a lot of historic places in Jenkintown. It's a very historical town, and most of the town revolves around Old York Road, which is the center of the action. So let's jump in. Here's what we're talking about. Jenkintown. It's a suburb of Philadelphia. It is Old York Road actually runs into Broad Street. If you continued up Old York Road, runs right into Broad Street in North Philly. And this is Jenkintown proper here. So, and this is Old York Road is right down the middle. So that's what we're talking about when I say Jenkintown. So let's dive in. Let's look at some old photos first of Old York Road. First off, this is one from either the 30s or the 40s. This might even be older than that. This shows just a nice historical view up Old York Road, and you can see the trolley tracks here. There was actually a trolley that ran up Old York Road and all the way up to the Willow Grove Amusement Park, which was further up Old York Road and Old York and Easton, around that area. So you can see the trolley tracks here. The trolley unfortunately doesn't run anymore, but it did back in the day. So definitely some cool history there. This is further up the road. This is a later picture, maybe from the 50s. This is just shows, an old gas station here. This is also on Old York Road, up towards Abington. Here's another side view. This is from 1940. This is showing West Avenue. So West Avenue is where the current day Buckets Bar is. And on the left side, you'll see a bank, and that was a Wells Fargo Bank. And on the right side was Buckets Tavern, current day. So that's what we're looking at here. If you see way off in the distance there used to be a small diner. It was a kind of like a dining cart diner. A lot of these were modeled after trains, and they were built in New Jersey and shipped all over the area. And let's take a closer view. This one's called the Yorkway Diner. This is in the current parking lot behind Buckets. There's currently a fence around that area. I believe this house was either torn down or it might still be there, but I'm not sure. I didn't get that close to look at it on Google Maps. But this was the Yorkway Diner. This is your typical diner from back in the day. There is a similar diner that's still operating called the Dining Cart in Hatboro, which is right up the road. So this was there probably to the 60s, and then I think they took it out in the 60s. But some pretty cool old Jenkintown history there. Anytime you pass that, you can see certainly the Yorkway Diner in the back corner there. Here's the old Highway movie theater. Was built in 1913. It's been there for years. I believe it's a National Historical Landmark. And it's still open to this day, and you can still see some eclectic movies in there. It is a cool spot to go catch an old school movie. It feels like you're going back in time when you head into the Highway Theater. So that's still there and operational. Okay. On the corner of West Avenue and Old York Road stood a hotel called the Cotman House Hotel. The Cotman House. This hotel sat there till the 1920s when it was sold and then torn down, and then I think a bank went in its place. But it opened in 1725, so pre-revolutionary. Pre-revolutionary by 50 some years, okay? Opened 1725. And the Cotman family bought it a little bit later date, and they ran the establishment as the Cotman House Hotel. Now, this is what a saloon looked like back at the turn of the last century into the 1910s and 1920s. Other examples in the area look very similar to this, such as the Fox Chase Hotel over in Fox Chase. There's a Schmitz sign on this door. Schmitz was the premier beer of Philly back then. The whole Philly area, a lot of people, drank Schmitz. That was like the go-to beer. But anyway, there was a tavern on the first floor here, and then there was rooms that you could let on the upper floor. And before there was cars, there was probably plenty of places to put your horse out front and dock your horse and things like that. So, and then you went in and got a nice cold beer and got on your way. People would stop here to get some lodging on their way out of town or their way into town. So, really cool history there. The Cotman House Hotel, right on Old York Road. All right, this is the old Jenkintown Club. It's still standing there. This building was, I think, built in the 20s. Now, when it was the Jenkintown Club, when it first opened, there was a full court basketball on the very top floor there, on the third floor. So a lot of community kids would go to this building, hang out there. There was lots of things to do in this building. It was kind of like a YMCA, I guess. Also interesting, someone said on Facebook that in the basement of this place was a bowling alley. Now, I know there was a Thunderbird Lanes at one point in Jenkintown, and I'm not sure if they're getting that mixed up, but it was very common back in the day to have bowling alleys in basements of like churches and like YMCAs and places like this. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's still some kind of remnant of the bowling alley down there. It'd be interesting to go into that building and see if you can get access to the basement to see if there's any remnants of the bowling alley still down there. But pretty cool old historical fact there in Jekintown from like 100 years ago. All right, let's move on. The Beechwood Inn. The Beechwood Inn is currently where the Beaver condominiums are. This was opened in 1877. It was expanded on later. It was a huge hotel and inn. It was very popular summer destination from people from Philly and the surrounding areas. It had a huge wraparound deck. I believe it had pools. It had a high-end restaurant. It had bars in there that you could go in and relax. Had beautiful rooms that you could stay in. This was the Beechwood Inn, established in 1877. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. So the land and the school was sold off in 1912 or 13 to become a school. And then later, in 1925, it was the original home of Beaver College, which, of course, Beaver College then moved to Glenside and is now known as Arcadia University. So that's a little nice history of this area. This was knocked down and the condominiums went up. But if you went back to Jenkintown back at the turn of the last century, you could have went in this beautiful inn, got a room, and stayed there for a summer weekend or even a week in the summer and probably really enjoyed yourself. Here's another picture of the Beechwood Inn. As you can see, the big, huge wraparound deck. Remember, there's not much air conditioning back then, so to have a nice breeze on a wraparound deck was beautiful back then. So you could see why it was a nice summer destination. All right, moving up. This is probably closer to Abington, but on the fringe of Jenkintown. This was the Baderwood Grill. This was on Bader Road and Old York Road. The Baderwood Grill was probably there until the 60s, and I believe they removed it in the 60s, but right now there's a PNC Bank there. Here's another picture of it. I believe this is when they were tearing it down. You can see the Baderwood Grill up there. They also had the old dining cart. Now, remember, I told you earlier when I showed you that dining cart. These dining carts were built in New Jersey, and they were shipped all over the area, and they were your classic, like, 1930s, 40s diners, like, all over the area. So, really, really cool, old school, like, Philly area history. This is the Williamson restaurant. There were several of these. This was the original one. The Williamson restaurant sat on Old York Road. It was a high-end restaurant. It did catering. They had weddings here. It lasted from, I believe it was built in 1947, and in 1961 it burned to the ground. So it was only there for 14 years before it burned to the ground. But it was a big, huge restaurant. Now, the Williamsons family opened several restaurants throughout the area. And after this burnt down, they never rebuilt here, but they had other places in like Ballackinwood and other places in the area. So this is the Williamsons restaurant. Little nice tidbit of old Jenkintown history there. All right, let's go to some current bars, and we'll show you a little bit about the history of them as well. All right, Buckets. Buckets, one of my go-to spots in Jenkintown. I call this like the most Eisley Cantina bar from Star Wars. It is very friendly. I love buckets. I would go in here often on Thursday nights. My daughter would dance across the street with Irish Dance in Jenkintown, and buckets would be the place to be for like an hour. Just go over there with a friend or two and just hang out. They have great bartenders. Keith on Thursday night's a great bartender, man. He is just awesome. Super cool guy. Just a wonderful bartender. Now, it is a smoking bar, okay? So you can still smoke in there. Here's an inside look at buckets. It's rough. It's ready. It's a dive bar of dive bars. But it's a really cool spot. And everybody in there is very, very friendly. I never had any issues in buckets ever, and I've been in there a lot. So... it is open late. I believe it's open till 2 a.m. every day. So, and apparently their buffalo wings are really, really good if you get them extra crispy. I never had food here, but it's definitely an establishment. But before it was buckets, it was called the Yorkshire House. So there's a picture of it. That was back in the 70s, I believe, and before. Here it is, the Yorkshire House. Lots of people remember going here on Facebook when I did research for this. So it looked like it was a very cool spot. The Drake Tavern, it can be hit or miss, but it's one of the main taverns there in Jenkintown. It's been there for quite some time. I remember when they built it back in like the 90s, I believe. And here's an inside look at the Drake. They used to have really good happy hour specials. I'm not sure if they do still, but they used to have like $2 beers at happy hour. I'm sure they still have some kind of happy hour special. They're known for their burgers. Their burgers are really good. It's the classic old school Drake. The parking lot's always really tight here. So just watch yourself in the parking lot. But other than that, it's a really cool spot. And it's been hit or miss recently. I think they went through a little bit of a struggle through COVID, but hopefully they come out the other side. It looks like they've come out the other side pretty well. All right, Human Robot is a brewery that's in Jenkintown. Before it was Human Robot, it was like the Guild Hall. And it was like Wissahickon, I believe, in between. But now it's called Human Robot. And this is literally my favorite beer of any brewery in the area. Let me get into it, what they do here. So here's an internal shot of Human Robot. Nice, clean, high ceilings. Typical brewery, industrial look here. Super friendly bartenders in here. I mean, super friendly bartenders. They serve Czechoslovakian beer. That's what they're known for. They have a Czech side pour, which I'll show you in a second. But the Czech side pour gives you a beautiful creamy head on the beer. So this is one of their main go-to beers. This is one of their Czech lagers. And they have Czech lagers, Czech pilsners, and then they have a never-ending rotating selection of beers. Most of them European type lagers and pilsners, like Italian pilsners and things like that. It's really, really unique. Not so many IPAs. They have a couple IPAs, but I love what they do with their selection of beer. The original Human Robot's in Kensington, and this is their second location here. They also have a milk tube with Don't Knock It Till You Try It. With that side pour, they can actually pour an entire glass of foam. And these are like $3, and you're supposed to shoot it down like a shot. And they're very refreshing. I thought it was like a gimmick when I first saw it, but they're actually very refreshing and very cool. So make sure you try a milk tube the next time that you're in Jenkintown at Human Robot. Here's your Czechoslovakian side pour. Now, the bartender told me they imported this from the Czech Republic. It is an actual handle side pour, and when you side pour it, if you just turn it a little tiny bit, you can get the milk tube. If you turn it a little bit more, you can get less foam. Somewhere in the middle is the happy medium. Now, Czech beers are known to have that foam. That's why it has so much foam on top. That's a traditional Czech beer. They pour like 18 ounces of beer and then like 4 ounces of foam. So that's what it looks like. Don't knock it till you try it. The beer here is delicious, and this is what a side pour looks like. So they also have food here. It's called Herman's at the House. It is Bavarian, like German themed. Here's some bratwurst and things like that. They also have selection of fries and schnitzel and things like that. So it's very German themed. Awesome place to go. My favorite brewery in the area. Here's the King's Corner. It's a Scottish bar. It is very, very cool bar. They have trivia nights here. I think they have karaoke. They're used to anyway. They have a good beer selection. They always have Belhaven on tap. Now Belhaven's a great Scottish ale. They have Belhaven. They also used to have a banana bread beer. And if you mixed the Belhaven, the banana bread, it was like a golden. That's like their half and half there. Like a Guinness and a Hart, but that's like their half and half. It was so good. They probably still have that on tap. This is the inside. There's a bar. There's a restaurant up top. They have really good fish and chips. A cool vibe in here. A lot of times this bar's packed, so that's how you know it's a good bar. Like you go in here and there's not always a seat at the bar. It's not a very big bar to begin with, but there's not always a seat. But before it was called Archie's Tavern. Archie's was a mainstay of Jenkintown for years. It was an old timer, like smoky bar. It had video games in there. I think someone said it had asteroids and stuff like that. People used to play the video games and, go in there and, talk to their fellow Jenkintown people. It was definitely a gathering spot for Jenkintown. There was a lot of these old-timey bars in Jenkintown back in the day when they called Old Jenkintown. So there's Archie's. Before it was Archie's, it was called the Maroons Tavern. Now, that was probably back in the 50s and 60s. I don't have any pictures of that. I just saw somebody online that said it was called Maroons. So there's what it was called. All right, here's Newbold's. This was a bar for years in this section. This is called Newbold's. This is a pizza pub, kind of high-end cocktail bar. They have an outdoor area outside for the nicer weather time. You could sit out there, have a cocktail, get a bite to eat. They have an indoor bar. You can see they're going for the upscale look here. They have a good cocktail menu according to their webpage. That's Newbold's, right in the middle of Old York Road. But before it was Newbold's, it was a place called Sonny's Pub in Jenkintown. And you see the shillelagh and the shamrock obviously was Irish themed. When it was Sonny's, it was in that same spot. And before it was Sonny's, it was Casey's. Now, Casey's gets lots of love on Facebook. A lot of people apparently went to Casey's Irish Tavern. They had a softball team. They were a huge bar to go to on St. Patrick's Day time. And that's where Casey's Irish Tavern is, where Newbold's is today, according to people online. And before it was Casey's Irish Tavern, it was called the Jenkintown Inn. I don't know anything about it. I just know that from doing some research, someone said it was called the Jenkintown Inn, and I'm going to go with it. Here's the Pizza Wheel. It is a pizza place. It is owned by the West Avenue Grill people. They have it's a BYOB currently. But before it was a Pizza Wheel, there was a couple bars in here in the 70s and the 60s, so let's take a look at that. First is the Lamplighter Inn. It was a restaurant/bar at the Lamplighter. What a cool name. I love this old logo here. Of course, this is a matchbox, a matchstick of the Lamplighter Inn. So, what a cool logo. This was probably back in the 60s and 70s. Notice there's no area code down here. You could just call the number, so obviously it's kind of old. But in that same building where Pizza Wheel is. And before that, it was called the Brass Rail Bar. Now, I don't know anything about the Brass Rail. I just know that somebody confirmed that that's what the name of it was, the Brass Rail Bar. So just a little bit of history on that spot there where the Pizza Wheel is. Here's the Terrence McSweeney Club. It's a private club. It's in Jenkintown. It's a very Irish club. I am a member. I'm not going to show you any pictures inside. It's very, discreet and stuff what they do. But this is the outside of it. They have lots of Irish concerts here. Derek Warfield, the Young Wolf Tones play here like 3 times a year. They're a great Irish band. My band, I'm in a band called The Shanties. I'm an Irish band in Philly, and we have played here numerous times. Just a very, very cool old place. You can rent the hall here. Here's Terrence McSweeney. It's named after Terrence McSweeney. Terrence McSweeney was an Irish revolutionary figure from the early 1900s. He died on hunger strike in England in jail in October of 1920, and he went on hunger strike to protest the continued British occupation of Ireland. So that's what the hall is named after, the Terrence McSweeney Club. So there's your little history lesson on that. on what it is. So that's the McSweeney Club. There's a VFW right in the heart of right in the heart of Jenkintown. I apologize. So this is your VFW post. You can rent rooms. This was established 1937. Here's the bar of the VFW post. Typical wood paneling, old school tile floor bar of a VFW. Now, I've never been in this VFW. Some VFWs are more strict than others on who can drink in there and if you need a membership. Some offer $10 social memberships to keep things going. Like any other VFW, there's not many veterans of foreign war, unfortunately, that are left, so they rely on social memberships from people in the town. So I'm sure that's similar to here. But this is looks like a cool old VFW. It's right there in the heart of Jenkintown. Here's the Jekintown train station. There's a restaurant slash bar that is abandoned. It was in there for years and years and years. There was a bar in there, and it's been abandoned for quite some time. We're waiting anxiously, people in the neighborhood, for someone to buy this and make it back into a restaurant of some sort. Nice Italian restaurant would be great in here, something of that sort. But it's tried and failed several times, maybe because of location. I'm not 100% sure. Here's the bar area in there. Now, when I was a kid, when I was 17, I was 16. I worked dishes in here in a place called Stasi Milano's, and that's one of the last places that was in the Jenkintown train station. Stasi Milano's. That was the restaurant that I worked in back in the day. So hopefully something comes of that Jenkintown train station. It is a huge, huge, huge building with. It could has lots of potential. So let's see what moves in. Now I'm going to leave you with one little fact that used to be on West Avenue. I think it was over near the West Avenue Grill area. Believe it or not, in Jenkintown, back in the day, there was a place called La Place. It was a go-go bar, and they called it the Hole in the Wall. That was the nickname for it. But it's amazing to me that back in the 70s, there was like these little random like go-go bars all over. There was one in Glenside where the Keswick Tavern is, and there was one in Jenkintown as well. Well, that's all I got for you. I hope you really enjoyed it. This was the Jenkintown Historic Pub Crawl. And I am Billy D. I'm happy to be back here with you after a little bit of a hiatus doing these. And hopefully I'll get my next one out in just another couple weeks as well. So hope you enjoyed this one. Cheers. I will see you next time.